you know, that's my career, everything I've ever worked for. I feel like I'm the one that people are avoiding. I'm the one that's excluded. Feels like I'm the one that's done something wrong. It shouldn't have to cost me my career, but if that's what it costs, I'm going to have to deal with that.
In 2015, NHS nurse Michelle Russell took her first steps to report claims of sexual assault and harassment by a colleague to her employer. Michelle thought her case would be investigated and dealt with immediately. However, 8 years later, she's still fighting for her voice to be heard by the UK's nursing regulator, the Nursing and Midwifery Council.
I was working at a site that I didn't usually work at, and I knew this particular man by sight. I'd never had a conversation with him, and I had to do a piece of project work, which meant that I had to spend a lot of time at this other site, and very quickly, from never speaking to this man, he seemed to be constantly around me. He persisted, and when I told my manager, I just thought she'd deal with it. I thought she'd speak to him and that she would have a word with him. And I really thought that that's what would happen. But it clearly didn't happen, and I became unwell.
After a year-long investigation, the North East London Foundation Trust dismissed her claims.
I've just wanted to do the right thing and protect my patients and the public and my colleagues. But what's happened is somehow I feel like I'm the one that people are avoiding. I'm the one that's excluded. Feels like I'm the one that's done something wrong when all I've done is raise my concerns. I mean, I have been insistent and I have been persistent, but that's because there's a public safety issue.
Michelle didn't want to give up, and her perseverance saw a chance encounter with the NHS's most senior nurse in 2017.
And I thought, I need to do something. I can't go on like this. And I got on a train. I wrote a big banner saying I'm a nurse, I've been sexually assaulted and I'm going to lose my job. And I got on a train and I went and stood outside the Houses of Parliament. It was freezing. It was a very cold, rainy day. And then there was somebody that I could see hanging around who wanted to speak to me, and came over and spoke to me, and she said, "Do you know who I am?" And I said, "No, I don't, I'm sorry." And she said, "I'm Ruth May." And at that point, I think Ruth was Deputy Chief Nurse. And she said to me, "You can put your banner away. This is who I am. I want you to email me and I'll arrange for you to come up for a meeting." Which she did. And I went up and I had a meeting at Waterloo with Ruth, and I explained what had happened to me and how it had been handled by the trust. And that same day, Ruth contacted the chief executive, who at that point had just not responded to any communication from me at all. And Ruth emailed him and told him that there needed to be an independent investigation, and that she was suggesting that he used two particular names that she proposed to do the investigation, and then that independent investigation happened.
This review, finished in 2018, found North East London Foundation Trust's original investigation was catastrophically flawed and that the Trust didn't even understand its own policy on sexual harassment. This report, seen by The Independent, also reveals the hospital was aware of other allegations against the same nurse. A dossier of documents obtained throughout her 8-year ordeal revealed the NMC rejected the original referral made by Michelle against her alleged perpetrator in 2016. Following the July 2018 review, the regulator reopened the case, however only heard it last year in July 2023. An NMC fitness to practice panel found that 3 allegations by Michelle could not be proved. For the first allegation over touching, the panel found there was not enough evidence to establish on balance of probabilities that the incidents had occurred. In the 2 other allegations of him poking out his tongue and him pressing his groin against her back, it said there was not enough evidence to prove the charges. But another person's allegations of inappropriate comments were upheld. On the 7th of December 2023, the male nurse was cautioned by the panel. Just a week later, the NMC reviewed its decision, finding concerns over the panel's failure to uphold Michelle's allegations. In a statement to The Independent, NELF said it had accepted the findings of the investigations in full and taken the issues raised by Michelle extremely seriously, and said as a result it had put in place new sexual safety policies and improved its oversight and training. It said it had responded to all questions from the NMC in a timely manner and claimed it had no formal complaints from patients or family members over the alleged perpetrator. The NMC said it had apologised directly to Ms. Russell that this case took too long. They said they considered the evidence carefully and decided there was a case to answer and made that case at the hearing. They acknowledged that the panel's finding was very distressing for Ms. Russell. As a result, the NMC has referred itself to its own regulator, the Professional Standards Authority, on the basis that its decision was not sufficient to protect the public.
I mean, it's nearly a decade of my life. We all age, but I really feel as if I've lost a whole chunk of my life. I won't get that back. It's absolutely obliterated my career. Something that I loved. It was, all I'd ever wanted to be was a nurse. I think there seems to be a method that, having spoken to other NHS whistleblowers, there seems to be a method that's rolled out of dealing with people that raise concerns, and it is incredibly damaging.